I planted these carrots 7 weeks ago, and it's time to thin them out. I actually thinned them out twice now, and in probably another 6 weeks, I'll have some baby carrots that I'll use when I thin them out again. In this quick video, I'm going to show you how to thin them out. It's really easy. Hi, I'm Debbie. Welcome to my organic garden.
All I have needs, I have not provided.
Before I thin out this bed of carrots, I want to show you where some of them didn't come up and I replanted them. So there's going to be 2 different ages of carrots here, and that's okay. And right there, let's see, right there, I'm going to show you what happened. Why do I have carrots growing down the side of this hill? Before I start thinning them out, I want to show you a couple of things. I planted 2 different kinds of carrots so that I can determine which ones are the very best for me. Both of them have performed well in the past, but I decided to grow them at the same time so I could make a real good comparison. This first bunch here is Imperator. If you can see it beyond this volunteer tomato plant, which I am going to transplant today. Now, notice how big they are. And then we're going to come down here. The marker's totally gone. Here it is. Here's the next marker right here. And those are Scarlet Nantes. Now, can you see the difference in the size? So far, it looks like Imperator's doing better, but I'm going to wait until I actually have the final harvest before I determine which is the better one. In my first video, I explained that sometimes you're going to have areas that don't come up well. Maybe they get buried too deep, or in my case, sandhill cranes walked through here and buried them for me. And then some dogs came through. So wherever dogs and sandhill cranes step, well, they bury the seeds too far down. At any rate, I came back about 3 weeks later and planted in between the gaps here and here, just to fill in the empty spaces. Now, when it's all said and done, it's time to harvest. Those carrots probably aren't going to be quite as tall as the ones that I planted earlier, but that's okay. There will still be some carrots there. The last thing I wanted to show you before we start thinning them out is this is why I try to plant them far up in the bed away from the edges. In my first video, I explained that I don't plant right on the edge. You see how this bed has kind of broken down? That's just the nature of this sandy soil. You water it and the sand slides down the hill. Now, I'm going to go ahead and thin out these carrots that slid down the hill while they were still seeds. And there will be carrots under there. They won't have the opportunity to grow as long, but they'll still be a good enough size that I'm going to leave them. I'm not going to pull them all out. Now notice I have weeds growing up along the sides of the bed here. I'm going to leave those. That will help keep the sides from deteriorating. The only part I'm going to weed really well is right here where the carrots are growing, and also any weeds in the middle. So I don't really come through and pull out individual weeds one at a time. I have a tool that I use that just cuts them off and stirs it up. That's this guy. He's really, really a handy tool to have. It's called a weed comb, and I'll leave a link to that below. And you see here, you can also add a pole to it, and you can use it kind of like you would a hoe. So let's get started. Do you see how close they are? Right here, here, let's see, 1, 2, 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 10 in just this one little group here. Now I'm going to try my best to leave the biggest ones here and just pull out the teeny tiny ones in between. Just kind of have to separate them out a little bit and determine which ones can go and which ones need to stay. It's not an exact science, but you know, I'm going to leave the biggest ones if I can help it. You see how I have 3, 1, 2, 3? These two are far enough apart here. I'm just going to scoot up some dirt there and pull this one. Look, I already have a teeny tiny baby carrot. And this one can go. I'm going to leave this one because it's far enough away here. I can put my finger down in there, see? Just use your finger as a guide, and that should be good enough. But look here, I'm going to pull this one. And this one. Now, if you make a little hole, just push the dirt up around and they'll be fine. They like to have room to grow. It really is that easy. Do you remember in my video when I showed you how to plant them? I showed you don't plant them too thick, because if you do, at this stage, you're going to be here all day long trying to thin out your carrots. Don't make the mistake of thinking if you leave them all in, they'll all just make carrots. So that doesn't work. They really do need room to expand underneath. So I'm going to weed right next to the actual carrots, and I'm going to leave the rest of the weeds down here. But I don't want weeds interfering with the carrots themselves. So you could think of it this way. I've got weeds in here that have different purposes. I have weeds down the side to keep the side from deteriorating further. And I have weeds here that need to come out because I want my carrots to have plenty of room to grow, and I want all the nutrients in the soil right next to the carrots to be available to the carrots. Here's an example where I sowed way too many seeds in one place. Now you can fix that. It just takes a bit longer. So you're just going to separate them out and just start pulling a couple so you can see more clearly what you need to do down in here. Now the carrots that you leave behind will recover really, really well, as long as you push the dirt back up around them. Some of these are really good size, so it's kind of hard to decide which ones to pull. In that case, you just kind of have to pull the one that's in the center. I noticed some of my carrots are white. I don't know why. Something got mixed in with them. I don't know. We will see when harvest time comes. Okay, that's good enough. One more. Now, that's good enough until it's time to come back and thin them out. And at that time, there will be some young carrots that I can roast. And those are absolutely delicious. Here's an example of what happens when you've got them crowded. That's already on its way to becoming a split carrot. I want to invite you to my Etsy shop, Debbie's Garden Gifts. I'm designing gifts that I think gardeners would like to have: mugs, wall prints, t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, and I'm creating more as time goes on. Visit me at Debbie's Garden Gifts. Thanks. That didn't take long at all, but I thought of a couple of questions that you might have. These are volunteer peanuts. I thought I found all the peanuts, but apparently I didn't. So I'm leaving them in because, like these right here, if I pull those out, I'm going to disturb the carrots that are next to them, and I won't get peanuts and I won't get carrots. And if there's a frost or freeze, the peanuts are going to die anyway. So the weather just may solve that problem. And who knows, maybe I'll get carrots and peanuts. I've never had this happen before, so I'm leaving it there. The other question that I thought maybe you wanted to know is, well, what if I have an empty spot, like down there where the carrots don't seem to be doing well? Can't I take something like this and maybe transplant them? The short answer is no. The long answer is, if you can get a big enough, deep enough shovel where you are absolutely not disturbing the young carrot underneath, you can pick up the whole thing and transplant them, and they will grow. But my experience is, even if they grow, they're still not going to be a very good carrot. So to me, it's not worth it, but you know what? I'm always saying, go ahead and try the experiment if you can. What are you going to lose? So there we have it, all done. I've left the weeds along the side right there, and they'll continue to grow and put a blanket around the entire bed. And that's exactly what I want to happen, because I don't want my bed to continue to deteriorate. My new word is gardenstead. Subscribe, go to the playlist, and see all the different vegetables I grow year-round here in Central Florida.
All I have needs, I have not provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me.